So let's take some examples, just a couple of examples then I thought I'd pull out of the government sector. I mean, I wrote a paper for the Public Sector Review, Central Government Edition 21. Marvellous glossy rag that goes to every civil servant of a certain grade up in the UK to try to explain to them something about open data. And I use this example. I am one of these conscientious people. I actually do my tax return early. I'm about to do it now. I've got all the paperwork. Because they usually owe me money, so I want it back. What I spend my time doing is going to various websites and copying and pasting information from a website to the tax form. And if I'm not doing that, I'm reading a computer printout and typing those numbers into the tax form. It's like, guys, all this information was digital and is digital. Why on earth is it not a rational way in which I can extract the data and put it somewhere else? I feed into my tax return. Why am I doing this, clerical work in the digital age? It's stupid. So, standard formats of even something as simple as the bank telling me this is your interest statement for the year for your account, here's the standard format. People have tried to do this, but it actually requires that there in a sense be a real pull. So if the government was to say the future online submission form will take the following standard formats of the various pieces of information, then maybe it would turn around the private sector and the financial services industries would then go and implement it. But at the moment, there's been no such pull to try and get that done. This doesn't save anyone particularly large amounts of money, although I'm sure there's a fair amount of cleaning up the mess when people mistranscribe all this information. But it would certainly make my life easier. I'd be a lot happier not spending all that time messing around doing that. Give another example and this starts to look at the very serious issue that I'm deeply concerned about that's going on right now in the Cabinet Office around my data. So this is a big new project around my data. Let's give the citizens access to their data. So I spent last week with the Web Science Conference in Glens, and I was with two privacy lawyers. One who's very concerned about privacy and but quite embracing of technology, and the other who's completely paranoid about all technology and the most extreme privacy advocate you can come across. She's German. And this idea of my data seems, like a great idea, and I'll run through this example in a second. The danger is that the path we follow here means that it just becomes real easy to con people out of their data in future. So let's take this example, and this is one that we developed in discussion with Boots. This is a service they really wanted to offer, which was you are on some medication. You are you're in Boots and you're looking at the non-prescription medications, and you go down the shelf and you say, oh yeah, I've got a headache, I'll take that headache tablet or something. And little did you know that that has an unknown side effect with the prescription drugs you're on. And this gets really serious for people who are on long-term medications. But in fact, often it's the people who are not on long-term medications who don't get to understand what the side effects are and what the interactions are, and not necessarily die, but at least live with pain and suffering. So they'd like to be able to warn you, don't take that. And in fact, maybe take this other one, just take a different pill of some sort. And they originally said, right, what we could do is we could take our prescription database and our customer loyalty database, we could mash them all together. And it's like, and at this point, data protection people are like, no, you cannot do that. But importantly, I could for myself. The one person who has access to all these different sources of information and has the right to see them under the Data Protection Act is me. So in fact, what I'd really like to do is have an application on my phone that allows me to just point it at some barcode and it says, no, don't take that, biohazard sign appears. Do not do that. And actually go along, and it might even might sort of give me other advice, like maybe you should eat vegetables, eat those. But, so you can turn it into a public health thing. But the important thing is that you start to look at this and say, well, if I'm doing it, if in a sense I am the so-called data integrator, I'm the one place where all this data comes together, I can bring together many more data sources. So yes, I want my medical record, I want my prescription record. I do need access to a trusted database. Who would I trust to deliver that? Well, that's an interesting question because in this example, I would probably trust Boots to provide such a database online. I may even trust them more than I would trust the government. And certainly if you go and ask women aged between 25 and 55, they will say Boots every time. Customer loyalty in that demographic is enormous.
But they wouldn't say Glaxo.
Sorry?
But they wouldn't say Glaxo.
They wouldn't say Glaxo, that's right. Interestingly, actually, and this is where we start getting into some of the really interesting data sharing aspects. So often this comes, we approach this from point of view pure data privacy. How do I keep my data private? But actually, I would really like a mode that would occasionally pop up a dialogue or send me an email or send me a text and say, your wife just bought some dangerous drugs. They are going to be in the medicine cabinet. Do not take those given the medication you're on. So it actually leads to a very interesting way in which the information sharing has to happen. The question and the issue at hand around my data and this current initiative by the government about opening up the data is, how are we going to build it so that people just don't get conned out of all their data and everyone gets to see everything? Now, I've actually I've adopted Lillian Edwards' terminology here, and I've stolen Judith Rohrhofer's comments. So Lillian refers to the world today, Web 2.0, as consent failed. There is no informed consent. When you get a 39-page terms and conditions when you download an app, because the App Store has changed its T's and C's, there is no way are you informed, you're giving informed consent when you click on it. So it's just failed. Now you can try and say, well, we shouldn't be doing that. It's like, no, get over it. The reading age for most of those things is postgraduate. I mean, you've got to have a law degree to make sense of them. We don't buy and sell houses this way, so it's like, what are we doing here online? And we've sort of just been bumbling along. So we can talk about what the Data Protection Directive says and the cultural and jurisdiction. The fact is it's failed. So the first reason Judith used was, maybe it's time to resort to some good old consumer protection. You can't buy toys with lead paint on them anymore, and there's a good reason why not. There's plenty of people who might still like to manufacture them, but you just can't buy them because society stepped in and said, no, we're not going to do that. Similarly, it happens occasionally, but melanin in baby milk. No, this should not be happening. We didn't say to people, well, you do whatever you want, and we'll give you terms and conditions that say it may possibly include lead paint. We just said, no, it cannot happen. So there's an issue here where we actually need to set a certain standard here concerning privacy and how information should be accessed and enforce it on the technical community. And simply say this is like trading standards. There's certain minimum requirements that must be met. And even then, there's still scope for considering it. Now the interesting challenge is, given those two, are there any remaining business models that actually mean you can do business? Well, I think there are, and it's what we've beavering away within the horizon to try and find. But we certainly need to do something to solve this consent fail. So open data, love to have it for personal information as well as public information, be able to integrate it together, but we've got some very major issues to deal with that are non-technical.